Who art thou, striving, etc. This story the master, while dwelling at Jetavana, told concerning the great renunciation. One day the brethren sat in the hall of truth discussing the Tathagata's great renunciation. The master came and found that this was their subject, so he said, this is not the first time that the Tathagata performed the great renunciation, he performed it also formerly. And herewith he told a story of the past. Once upon a time there was a king named Mahajanaka reigning in Mithila in the kingdom of Vidya. He had two sons, Mahajanaka and Pāli. The elder he made viceroy and the younger commander-in-chief. Afterwards, when Mahajanaka died, Mahajanaka, having become king, gave the viceroyalty to his brother. One day a slave went to the king and told him that the viceroy was desirous to kill him. The king, after repeatedly hearing the same story, became suspicious, and had Pāli thrown into chains and imprisoned with a guard in a certain house not far from the palace. The prince made a solemn asseveration, "If I am my brother's enemy, let not my chains be unloosed nor the door become opened, but otherwise, may my chains be unloosed and the door become opened," and thereupon the chains broke into pieces and the door flew open. He went out and, going to a frontier village, took up his abode there, and the inhabitants, having recognized him, waited upon him, and the king was unable to have him arrested. In course of time he became master of the frontier district, and, having now a large following, he said to himself, "If I was not my brother's enemy before, I am indeed his enemy now," and he went to Mithila with a large host, and encamped in the outskirts of the city. The inhabitants heard that Prince Mahājanaka was come, and most of them joined him with their elephants and other riding animals, and the inhabitants of other towns also gathered with them. So he sent a message to his brother, "I was not your enemy before but I am indeed your enemy now. Give the royal umbrella up to me or give battle." As the king went to give battle, he bade farewell to his principal queen. "Lady," he said, "victory and defeat in a battle cannot be foretold. If any fatal accident befalls me, do you carefully preserve the child in your womb." So saying he departed, and the soldiers of Mahājanaka ere long took his life in battle. The news of the king's death caused a universal confusion in the whole city. The queen, having learned that he was dead, quickly put her gold and choicest treasures into a basket and spread a cloth on the top and strewed some husked rice over that, and having put on some soiled clothes and disfigured her person, she set the basket on her head and went out at an unusual time of the day, and no one recognized her. She went out by the northern gate, but she did not know the way, as she had never gone anywhere before and was unable to fix the points of the compass. So since she had only heard that there was such a city as Kalakampa, she sat down and kept asking whether there were any people going to Kalakampa city. Now it was no common child in her womb, but it was the great being reborn, after he had accomplished the perfections, and all Sakka's world shook with his majesty. Sakka considered what the cause could be, and he reflected that a being of great merit must have been conceived in her womb, and that he must go and see it. So he created a covered carriage and prepared a bed in it and stood at the door of the house where she was sitting, as if he were an old man driving the carriage, and he asked if anyone wanted to go to Kalakampa. "I want to go there, father." "Then mount up into this carriage, lady, and take your seat." "Father, I am far gone with child, and I cannot climb up. I will follow behind, but give me room for this my basket." "What are you talking about, mother? There is no one who knows how to drive a carriage like me. Fear not, but climb up and sit down." By his divine power he caused the earth to rise as she was climbing up, and made it touch the hinder end of the carriage. She climbed up and lay down in the bed, and she knew that it must be a god. As soon as she lay down on the divine bed she fell asleep. Saka at the end of 30 leagues came to a river, and he woke her, saying, "Mother, get down and bathe in the river. At the head of the bed there is a cloak, put it on, and in the carriage there is a cake to eat it." She did so and lay down again, and at evening time, when she reached Kampu and saw the gate, the watchtower and the walls, she asked what city it was. He replied, "Kampu city, mother." "What sayest thou, father? Is it not 60 leagues from our city to Kampu?" "It is so, mother, but I know the straight road." He then made her alight at the southern gate. "Mother, my village lies further on, do you enter the city?" So saying Saka went on, and vanishing, departed to his own place. The queen sat down in a certain hall. At that time a certain Brahmin, a reciter of hymns, who dwelt at Kampu, was going with his 500 disciples to bathe, and as he looked he saw her sitting there so fair and comely, and, by the power of the being in her womb, immediately as he saw her he conceived an affection for her as for a youngest sister, and making his pupils stay outside he went alone into the hall and asked her, "Sister, in what village dost thou dwell?" "I am the chief queen of King Mahājanaka in Mithila," she said. "Why art thou come here?" "The king has been killed by Mahājanaka, and I in fear have come here to save my unborn child." "Is there any kinsman of thine in this city?" "There is none, father." "Do not be anxious, I am a northern Brahmin of a great family, a teacher famed far and wide. I will watch over you as if you were my sister. Call me your brother and clasp my feet and make a loud lamentation." She made a great wailing and fell at his feet, and they each condoled with the other. His pupils came running up and asked him what it all meant. "This is my youngest sister, who was born at such a time when I was away. O teacher, do not grieve, now that you have seen her at last." He caused a grand covered carriage to be brought and made her sit down in it and sent her to his own house, bidding them tell his wife that it was his sister and that she was to do everything that was necessary. His Brahmin wife gave her a hot water bath and prepared a bed for her and made her lie down. The Brahmin bathed and came home, and at the time of the meal he bade them call his sister and ate with her, and watched over her in the house. Soon after she brought forth a son, and they called him after his grandfather's name Prince Mahājanaka. As he grew up and played with the lads, when they used to provoke him with their own pure Kshatriya birth, he would strike them roughly from his own superior strength and stoutness of heart. When they made a loud outcry and were asked who had struck them, they would reply, "The widow's son." The prince reflected, "They always call me the widow's son, I will ask my mother about it." So one day he asked her, "Mother, whose son am I?" She deceived him, saying that the Brahmin was his father. When he beat them another day and they called him the widow's son, he replied that the Brahmin was his father, and when they retorted, "What is the Brahmin to you?" he pondered, "These lads say to me, what is the Brahmin to you? My mother will not explain the matter to me, she will not tell me the truth for her own honor's sake. Come, I will make her tell it to me." So when he was sucking her milk he bit her breast and said to her, "Tell me who my father is, if you do not tell me I will cut your breast off." She, being unable to deceive him, said, "My child, you are the son of King Mahājanaka of Mithila. Thy father was killed by Mahājanaka, and I came to this city in my care to save thee, and the Brahmin has treated me as his sister and taken care of me." From that time he was no longer angry when he was called the widow's son, and before he was 16 years old he had learned the 3 Vedas and all the sciences, and by the time he was 16, he had become very handsome in his person. Then he thought to himself, I will seize the kingdom that belonged to my father, so he asked his mother, have you any money in hand? If not, I will carry on trade and make money and seize my father's kingdom. Son, I did not come empty-handed, I have a store of pearls and jewels and diamonds sufficient for gaining the kingdom, take them and seize the throne, do not carry on trade. Mother, he said, give that wealth to me, but I will only take half of it, and I will go to Suvarnabhumi and get great riches there, and will then seize the kingdom. He made her bring him the half, and having got together his stock in trade he put it on board a ship with some merchants bound for Suvarnabhumi, and bade his mother farewell, telling her that he was sailing for that country. My son, she said, the sea has few chances of success and many dangers, do not go, you have ample money for seizing the kingdom. But he told his mother that he would go, so he bade her adieu and embarked on board. That very day a disease broke out in Mahājanaka's body and he could not rise from his bed. There were 7 caravans with their beasts embarked on board. In 7 days the ship made 700 leagues, but having gone too violently in its course it could not hold out, its planks gave way, the water rose higher and higher, the ship began to sink in the middle of the ocean while the crew wept and lamented and invoked their different gods. But the great being never wept nor lamented nor invoked any deities, but knowing that the vessel was doomed he rubbed some sugar and ghee, and, having eaten his belly full, he smeared his 2 clean garments with oil and put them tightly round him and stood leaning against the mast. When the vessel sank the mast stood upright. T.